see some real race action on what is termed a very old school circuit. We bring the Ferrari Challenge to Sonoma, and we know it's going to entertain. We have a series of races across the weekend that will feature the Pirelli drivers, the Pirelli AM drivers, also the Coppa Shell and Coppa Shell AM drivers, all driving their 4-day Challenge Evos to the absolute max on this circuit, which takes no prisoners. In fact, if you go offline here, I am told that your bottom will be bitten. Hello everyone, delighted to welcome you here to Sonoma. What a track in the Napa Valley in California here. We're about to get Trofeo Pirelli qualifying underway. Just 15 minutes for our Pirelli drivers, of which there are 9 of them, to set the best lap they can and, of course, find themselves on the most advantageous grid position. Very, very important. It's quite undulating, this circuit. Here's the calendar for 2023. As you can see, we've already been to Miami, to Texas, to Road Atlanta, Montreal in support of Formula One, of course. Here we are in Sonoma with Road America still to come. And then all roads lead to Tuscany in Italy for the Finale Mondiale at Mugello right at the end of October. So let's give you a pinpoint accurate position of where we are in the world then. There we are right on the coast here in California, and this Napa Valley region is utterly beautiful, and the weather conditions are absolutely great for us to go racing. Please follow us on @Ferrari Races. We would love you to be part of the family, and you can do that by getting in touch with all of our social media channels. And this is the track then, and as I've said, it's a very, very old school and very undulating as well. Having talked to many of the drivers here, some of which had offs on in their practice sessions on Wednesday, and you'll see a number of drivers in T-cars as a result of that, just proving the point that I made, that this track really does bite you on the bottom if you get it wrong. And the conditions forecast for today's racing are, well, blissful, to be honest with you. And we'll give you an update in terms of the temperature. But looking at my meteorological screen at the moment, it tells us the track temperature is 28 degrees. The air temperature is lovely at 21 degrees. And I'm delighted to welcome alongside me a top racing driver, top broadcaster, top geezer in every regard. That's Justin Bell. You know this place very well. First time I've been here, I've been really impressed, Justin.
Well, very nice to be in the booth with you, Dave. This is a special thing. And here, if you'd offered me the middle of Ohio, I might have declined. But coming to Sonoma is very special. This track is old school, as you say, which brings with it the good, the bad, and the potentially ugly. Because modern racetracks like COTA and a lot of the anywhere Formula One goes, they sterilize them. They sterilize them with safety because they have to, the speeds of the car. This is a racetrack that has seen some of the best racing action in North America, and it has not changed. So when you're out there, the Derek Bells, the Hurley Haywoods, the Mario Andretti's, everybody has driven on this track in the days when, you know, sports cars were thunderous and there was no technology to save you. Yeah. Nothing has changed, but now you're in these beautiful Evos that they are probably going faster than IMSA would have qualified, you know, in its heyday in a prototype. Just think about that. So the track is, you know, we can get into it more when they're driving there, but it's one of my favorites because if there's more risk, there's more reward. So to win here is great.
Lovely to have you alongside Justin, myself, but we are only part of the talent that brings you the broadcast, because down there in the hot seat, in the pit lane, somewhere is Amanda Busick. Good morning, Amanda.
Hey, gentlemen, you know I hate that talent word. It's all teammate within us, but I love looking at those aerials at Sonoma Raceway. You see those golden amber hills that surround this racetrack, and it just reminded me of the evolution that this track sees throughout the year. You go back last season, the series came here in September for the penultimate race and the last race of the North American Series part of the Ferrari Challenge, but now we're here in July, and you talk about the challenging parts of this racetrack that these drivers are seeing this season. I think it starts just right there. I was talking to Amar Bakasan, who was telling me that the laps are just different every lap around, that there's no predictability and none are the same. So drivers are having a hard time getting into a groove of finding kind of that consistency lap in, lap out. But when you talk about who's going to have presence here, last season we had 4 drivers win the race from the #1 position. So track position is key here. And Manny Franco, one of the guys going out on track right now, he did just that. Took pole and took the win last season.
Thank you, Amanda. So looking forward to working with you across the course of this weekend. Bring us the inside from down there. You could just see the number 46 car there that I want to big up Martin Burrows, because, of course, last time out at Montreal, race 1, Martin Burrows, being Canadian and representing Ferrari of Ontario, went out and won race 1 in that fantastic Montreal circuit as part of the support to Formula One. So, as a racing driver, Justin, must give you a couple of 100s in terms of confidence, doesn't it, when you come off the back of success?
Yeah, we see it in motorsports the whole time. If you win, your confidence is up. You approach the race going, I can be fast, I could have fastest lap, I could win the race. And you can see that a driver just sort of, once he gets it in his mind that he's capable of it, it takes you to another level. So as you say, for Burrows coming off the back of that win, he should be pretty handy around here. But I suspect there's a few others trying to make it a little harder for him.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the grid is littered with drivers that could take P1 here. Interestingly, talking to a number of the drivers, and I was trying to get their strategy when it comes to qualifying, something that perhaps I didn't appreciate, and you will be able to advise more, is the fact that this track is so demanding in so many regards, but he's very, very abrasive. As we look at Custodio Toledo representing the collection here, apparently when it comes to qualifying, which is short and sharp, it's only 15 minutes long for these drivers, so they've got to find their window. Many drivers telling me, you've got 2 installs, Dave, and then you've got 1 lap before the tyres will drop off significantly. That's additional pressure, because you've got to nail everything perfectly and not come up against any traffic and not make one even tiny error. That really heaps the pressure on.
Well, yeah, we saw it just then. I was watching the 88 car with Toledo just backing off to get himself some space before he started his lap. And that's what you've got to do here. There's only 9 cars out there, so if you get up on someone, you can't. You and your team have mismanaged it a bit, especially if you only have a 1 lap window. The reason it's so, it has a lot of dropping off camber. The long left-handers onto the straight, rejoin the drag strip over there, turn 6. I mean, it puts undue stress through the outside tyre. Oh,
forgive me, around has gone Martin Burrows. He, as you can see, really testing the limits of adhesion then, and find the back end overtaking the front end, which was not ideal. If you're going to do it, it's probably on one of the installs, which I think is what Martin Burrows was on.
That's not in the Pirelli handbook of how to warm up a tyre.
No, absolutely. That isn't section 3. So we look at the number 88 car of Custodio Toledo then, and Custodio Toledo, who thus far has not been on the podium this year. He would love to do it here in Sonoma, and as the cars, these concrete walls are very unforgiving as well. And I was watching through turn number 11, which is like an old school oval track in the UK, where you come off the back of turn 11, as we look at Roberto Perina, and the back end of the car is just drifting a little bit nicely, and you use a little bit of opposite lock, which is always not the quickest necessarily, but it looks really, really dramatic, and is great for us. So the track is 2.5 miles. It's 4.056 kilometers, 12 turns, 6 of them left, 6 of them right, and some of those turns, as you mentioned, Justin, are off camber, aren't they? And that does something really, really nasty to the rubber, doesn't it?
I mean, he's going in right now as you're heading down to turn 6, which I personally love, but that is super demanding and critical to manage your throttle so you can get as fast as you coming down to the end section 7A, 7 and 7A. But this front straight part, as you were just saying, between those walls, it is, when you're in a road car, you go, well, this is easy. When you're actually in something here with over 700 horsepower, it is a corner, believe me. It's a straight, but it's a corner as you come through, and you really are planning your setup to attack turn 1. There's so much time to be made under braking and carrying momentum up into the hill.
So Dave Musial Jr. that we look at right now, he's given us a time, and he's improved. It's a 1:39.397, but that's just been bested by Jason McCarthy, who's given us a 1:38.918. So we'll keep an eye on the times. What have we got? Just over 10 minutes of the session remaining. So it is Jason McCarthy from Dave Musial 2.0. Then there's Custodio Toledo. Jonathan Bennett, who we welcome into the Ferrari Challenge. He's currently 4th fastest. Another driver to really keep your eyes on this weekend is Matt Gajewski, the Ferrari of Seattle driver, who he's driving very, very well. And I spoke to him just at breakfast this morning, and he's feeling pretty confident. He's always cool, calm and collected, to be honest. Doesn't show too much emotion ahead of any qualifying session. So Dave Musial Jr. that we're watching right now. second fastest, and
37.7.
Mr. Bennett.
Wow.
37.7. So as the track evolves, and I try and explain this to our audience, because the track kind of rubbers in, doesn't it? You put a bit of rubber down, it gives you an advantage. It makes the track even better, doesn't it?
Yes, but they're also dealing with track temperature. It's going up as we speak every lap. So, you talked about the window. The window is unfortunately narrow on a track like this to get the sweet spot. Because as a driver, these guys have had a bit of practice around here, so they should be, from yesterday, they know what they can achieve. But the team, it's a lot of demands when you, especially if you're new to the series, for example, you've got to go out and really get the optimum out of you, the car, and the tires in a 1 or 2 lap window on a track where the opportunity for mistakes is so high.
Well, as we saw in some of the sessions earlier on in the week, with a couple of drivers losing their cars, and we'll see a couple of drivers in T cars. Now, what amazes me is, and really reinforcing what you were saying, is the fact that the lumps of time that are being taken out now as we continue with our qualifying session is we're seeing coming to the drivers, as you say, the tyres warming up, the track is rubbering in a bit. So it's Jason McCarthy who's quickest at the moment, 1:37.186. Now that's a full 3/10 ahead of Roberto Perina, who goes second fastest. Matt Kojewski is some 4/10 behind, but are quite great in this part of the session, of which we have only 8 minutes left. Manny Franco now goes fastest, and he's the first driver to give us a sub-1 for great in this part of the session, of which we have only 8 minutes left. Manny Franco now goes fastest, and he's the first driver to give us a sub 1:37 time, a 1:36.923. So that's obviously going to be the target for every other driver that's out there, to get it into the 36s. And Manny Franco then, who we can see loud and proud on our screen right now, coming down the hill. And this is something that perhaps I've not extolled quite enough. This track really is undulating.
Very much so. I mean, I'd say 6 cars within a second. That's pretty good around here. Great in-car here. This is what I was telling you about. Go past the start-finish line and you literally bury it into the uphill there. With the incline, it really allows you to brake late. You've got to be so neat going across the curb here, applying the gas on the way out. Very easy to get the car a bit loose on the exit there. But, I mean, very nice with the S's. It's great to follow the car like that, because this is such an undulating track, and as a driver, I mean, you can see again, you bury it up the hill. And the start tomorrow, I mean, the start and the race later, it gets pretty busy out there. I'll just tell you that.
Turn number 1, as we were on board with Martin Burrows, you're absolutely right. You take that full chat flat. I thought it was just a king, but actually it really is. You do you do have to turn into that. So we're watching Matt Kojewski there.
This is very demanding. Downhill under braking.
Yeah. So, coming downhill, you're braking as well. You've got to get the car rotated, haven't you? That's a big ask.
Well, once you get the weight on the nose and you're turning into the corner, of course, you get the car back under control. But as you go over the brow here, you have a little lift turning into the long left. And it's all about, as I tell the drivers, when you're going around this track and you're trying to explain it, it's when you go on the gas and when you come off, which is as important as each other here, because there's such a long corner. It just punishes the outside front tire.
Really interesting. I remember a dear friend of your father's, Barry Lee, who a great racing driver, and he always said that the key to success is the art of throttle control.
It really is. Look at it. This is a wonderful shot. Shows you the long carousel, like left hand down that front right tire, screaming at us. Well, you can't hear it, but believe me, it is. When you get on the best, see how you literally let it go like a catapult coming out of there as we see the cars go up. That is there are cars that at that point do 350 miles an hour on on that piece of as they come off the end of the drag strip. Just think about that.
That's extraordinary.
No, thank you. Just so the reason, put that in context, guys. These guys aren't doing 350. This is one of the biggest drag strips in North America. So we use the end part of it as the racetrack. So speed is a thing when it comes to Sonoma.
Dylan Medler currently third fastest then. He's posted a time of 1:37.280. He's 3.5 tenths down on Manny Franco, who is P1 for the moment, with a 1:36.923. I say for the moment because we've got just 5 minutes remaining. So it's Franco from McCarthy, from Medler, from Perina. Then it is Kojewski, then Bennett, Musial Jr., Toledo, and Martin Burrows. That's the way it looks at the moment. And Dylan Medler then looking for an improvement. We'll look at the cumulative time when it comes up on our screen. We run the times, of course, the clock on the drivers that are out there, and we'll see what they can do.
Burrows is going out. Is he pulled in? I think he's just pulled in. I was going to say, if you haven't had your best shot by now, unless you're very strategically waiting till the last couple of laps, a few minutes of the session, it seems like a lot of the cars have come in the pits because of that tyre window. Now, what is the strategy on tyres?
Well, this is the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, is the fact that the tyres that they qualify on are the tyres they've got to race on. So therefore, there's this risk-reward strategy, isn't there? You know, you're going to go out there and you want the best grid position possible. Of course you do. But when do you start thinking about the trade-off between using more rubber and giving you tyre life, tyre longevity in the race? You know, if you're only going to gain perhaps one place that will keep you on the same row of the grid, you know, it's kind of it's a no-brainer, isn't it? That you think, no, I'm going to bank this and put it away.
You know what the team are also saying? That's probably where you'd normally qualify. You've done a good job.
Yes.
Or you made a mistake, and of course there's a lot of opportunity for mistake here. And what they're saying is, you know, by the end of the race, you're going to be thinking, I wish I hadn't done another 3 laps in qualifying.
Right.
So this is not a test session.
No.
This is purely to gain your grid position. So unless you are out there in a new car because you damaged one,
yes,
a T car, then you are going to try and do the minimum number of laps.
Well, at the moment, we have only Dylan Medler, I think, out there. And as you can see, Dylan Medler is making his way down the pit lane now. So all of a sudden, it becomes very, very quiet. And I think that just reinforces what you say, that every driver feels that they have given of their best. And we can get some paddock shots here of some of the beautiful cars that are on display here. All part of the Ferrari Challenge weekend here in Sonoma. And lots and lots of people enjoying the beautiful Prancing Horse cars that are on display. And good to see so many people here to enjoy this weekend in what is a terrific region of the USA, and a great track as well. I have to say, when I arrived here on Wednesday or Thursday, just looking at this place, I mean, it really comes into its own for me, because it is one of these tracks, as you said right at the beginning of the program. It's not like the, forgive me, sanitized tracks of Formula One today, where you've got acres and acres of tarmac runoff area. Here, it's going to hurt you.
Well, I also have to say that, you know, I'm here with my girlfriend as well, and we walked into that Ferrari hospitality you're looking at right now, and I thought, there's only one way to do this, and it's the Ferrari way.
Yeah.
I mean, to see the beautiful, they got that, I think 330 there, they got the, you know, have an F40 just inside, the food, the coffee. No wonder you're only 145 pounds, Dave. If you keep coming to...
That's 95 more than I thought I was on. You've given me a pay increase. Thank you,
I wasn't talking about your left leg. No, it's because the way they do it, and you walk in there and you understand why you would want to do Ferrari Challenge. You wear the beautiful race suit, driving the most stunning cars in the world, being treated better than any IMSA driver has in history. So I totally get it. It's it's just stunning, and that is maybe, I would say, arguably the best designed, most stylish business building for hospitality at a racetrack I have ever been to. Wow. And that says something.
Yeah,
I didn't go to Abu Dhabi or something like that, and Ferrari have made the most of it. And of course, for the drivers, their wives and girlfriends don't mind coming to Sonoma.
No, that's funny, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really weird. And it's the same in professional racing. Everybody's family wants to come to this race. Or Laguna Seca. Those are the two.
Just as we were looking at where that hospitality is located around turn number 11, it was evoking memories of the very much missed Wimbledon Stadium in northwest in southwest London, which has been bulldozed because turn 11 is very similar to one of the two turns at the Oval there. But never did we have hospitality to this degree. And as you say, Ferrari just do it properly.
Amazing.
And that's through every. And I mean, what a year we've had, of course. Le Mans was terrific for us, and we can see that Manny Franco then is not going to be tested for that pole position. That 136.923 will stand. Just thinking ahead to the race as we look at some of the lovely cars on display here, there are drivers that are out of position, I would suggest, in the grid. Matt Gajewski being one of them. Roberto Perina perhaps another one, as we've got the checkered flag out, bringing the Trofeo Pirelli session to an end. Bear in mind the Pirelli AM cars are going to be out very, very quickly for their qualifying as well. Everything that the drivers told me is true. You're going to go out there, you just get one, maybe two shots at the lap you're going to do, then you're going to park the car.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. There's another qualifying tomorrow morning.
Yes,
right?
of course.
To see what they learned in strategy for for
Fair
tomorrow.
point. Yes.
Well, if the weather conditions are the same, as you say, maybe Pirelli would opt to maybe go out a bit later if you got your winner. Remember, the teams know. There's so much experience; they know how to back time it from the end.
Yes, yes.
And there's nothing like going for a time when the current pole sitter has already thrown his dice down, and you can go out and try and unseat them. But I think they did that was uneventful, but qualifying kind of should be.
Let's go back down to the pit lane. We've ended that session with Manny Franco, P1, Amanda Busick.
Well, actually, Manny's going to run up in this interview. I wasn't expecting this, so we'll grab your plate for the presentation of this later. I was going to wax poetic about how nice the hospitality is here this weekend. Manny, you won from here from pole last year, and I know this place is so hard to pass from, but how hard is this place to defend?
I mean, it has its moments that you're able to defend. Turn one's a pretty tricky corner. You know, I'm not really expecting too much offensive there. Of course, it's the start of the race, and that's the best opportunity to get it. So that's going to be quite a difficult corner in the start, but I think during the race it's going to be quite easy. Everything else seems pretty simple, except for the straightaways you have after the carousel and then the back straight. That's where I expect to get some defensive maneuvers put off. So.
We were talking about how tricky the track is here this weekend. How did you find it this morning?
It's definitely tricky, especially coming in, to a new day and trying to get the muscle memories working. The track seemed pretty well. A lot of grip there, but it's only for one lap, and that's it. That's all you got.
Thank you, Manny. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manny Franco. Then he will receive the Rotiform Pole Position Award, which is a lovely plate, to be honest. And if they're going to present that to him now, hopefully we'll stay with this RF camera and take a look at it, but we're not going to. There is the order. So car number 18, P1 then. Manny Franco, 136.923. Confirmation of who did what and where. Then Manny Franco put the car on pole position. Jason McCarthy alongside. He goes from P2. Then it's Dylan Medler and Roberto Perina. Before we find Matt Kajewski and Jonathan Bennett, then they effectively on the third row of the grid. Dave Musial Jr., Custodio Toledo, and Martin Burrows then rounding out the 9 Trofeo Pirelli drivers. Bear in mind, Trofeo Pirelli drivers have the red sun strip across the top of the windscreen. The Pirelli AM drivers that we're going to be seeing out for their qualifying session shortly, they have a black strip across the top of the windscreen. That's how you can identify within which category each driver is driving in. So Manny Franco did a very good job, seemed very comfortable, and there indeed, thank you team, is his Rotiform Pole Position Award. And it's just attention to detail, Justin. That lovely pole position award, you wouldn't mind having that on the mantelpiece.
No. Has he got a few of them?
One or two.
Has he really? Yeah, I'm sure
Although
he's quite comfortable.
He's not raced as much this season
Okay.
as, and in fairness, Manny has one win, and he took that in the first race at Cota and a P3 in the first race at Homestead, Miami. But he missed the last 2 rounds at Road Atlanta and Montreal, so he's back with a vengeance and has laid his gauntlet down, if I may be so bold, by putting it. Pole position, not only putting it pole position, the only driver in the 136s. So Manny's done a good job there.
Well, if it's to be believed, it's 64 degrees, it says on your screen. That seems cool. It feels track temperatures, it's a little warmer than that.
Yeah, I would agree
I
with
was
you.
going to say. But of course, that is the beauty here. We wake up in the morning and it's a bit brisk. It's almost perfect. And then, when they were... If you were out on track at 8 o'clock, it would be a very different scene from now. But as we're 10:30 in the morning,
drivers tell me, Justin, that actually when you go out for your qualifying session, you go out and you put a lap in, and you think you've got you know where you are. The track actually evolves almost lap by lap with track temperature as well. It just increases a little bit, and that changes the dynamic of the track. That's true.
Yeah, and actually, to be fair, the fact is especially in a high horsepower car, with the tires they have on there, Pirelli bring such great tires to the track, but all tires have an operating window, and we hear about it a lot. You hear about it in Formula One. How are we going to get the cars into the operating window? And warming up a tire as they pull out of the pit lane now, they'll be all excited to do it, but they're what you want to do is try and build up the tire temperature into performance from the inside of the tire out.
Right.
If you just get the outside, you haven't actually warmed up the car because of the tires, so the performance level won't be good. So like spinning it like we saw
Yeah.
is just exactly the wrong thing to do, because it just superheats the outside of the skin of the tire. So, you know, if you could do it, if you think about like a gyro winding up, that's every corner, every braking zone, you just build more energy into the tire. You reach a crescendo, and that's your lap.
Right. Okay. Never realised that, you know, as we look at Chuck Whittle here, you see drivers sometimes, don't you, weaving from side to side. Some are more aggressive than others, and interestingly, if you're a bit more smooth, perhaps, then as you say, you're getting a much more comprehensive heat through the tyre, rather than just lifting the temperature of one particular part of it. Michael Porter, then Ferrari of Seattle, who is one of our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers, who's has missed out on a podium so far this year. So can he right the wrongs of the season so far this weekend? We will see in Sonoma as the drivers then from Trofeo Pirelli AM get out there for their qualifying. The number 67 car, of course, driven by John Horsch for Ferrari of Vancouver, who has been on the podium and took a podium place in Road Atlanta, if memory serves me. And he's just quietly warming up there.
Yeah, if I was him, I'd quit doing that and just get on and start driving.
Okay.
Because it's only really on behind a pace car, a yellow flag or a pace car. You know, you as I say, it's that surging of tire warming. Right now, he's coming down the back straight. I can see him there coming down. This is to me one of the most exciting moments when you're going for qualifying. You've done that prep work. You've talked with your coach, your engineer, and as he's about to get ready to start his lap, I would say, as everybody starts their lap, it's a feeling of it's all in your hands. No, you're the tip of the iceberg. No one in the paddock can help you, and you're responsible for everything good and everything bad that happens from now on for the next 15 minutes.
You're out there pedaling it. That's exactly what Chuck Whittle is doing right now for Ferrari of Central Florida. Then we follow the all-blue number 68 488 Challenge Evo then as a qualifying session underway for our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers. Of course, the Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers with the white strip across the top of the windscreen. I just informed you it's not black, it's white.
Yeah.
So Chuck Whittle, then Ferrari of Central Florida, very much a roller coaster. This Sonoma circuit then being proved there by Chuck Whittle as he throws this car around, and just really rather think he's installing, ready to try and get it into a sweet spot and go shortly. This is Omar Balkasoon in the number 33 car, and Omar Balkasoon then, who certainly missed out the last round at Montreal, but is back with a vengeance this weekend, and the Ferrari of Fort Lauderdale driver. And something we talk about, I mean, the 488 Challenge Evo car is a beautiful car in any respect, and out here on track it just looks absolutely awesome. But when you've got the blank canvas of a 488 Challenge Evo to work with the livery, some of these cars are stunning works of art.
Well, and there's a freedom to it, because they, you know, imagine you get to the point you're here driving in Ferrari Challenge. You've got a whole lifetime of wondering what your race car would look like. So here you are. You can do what you want, and we obviously see a lot of their personal companies on the cars, and things like that. So, but I think it's just one of the most beautiful cars that you could have in effectively GT racing, and I sometimes wonder if, having talked to a company like Oz Negri down there, you know, Oz is like, he said, I don't think half these guys realize how fast these cars are.
Yes.
Because the technology is so good. But these are 700 plus horsepower. Sterling Moss never drove a car that fast in his entire life. You know.
Big welcome back, I should say, to Dave Musial, driving the number 30 car for Ferrari Lake Forest. Dave Musial's been missing for a few rounds, and we're delighted, Dave, that you're back in the car again. Had a nice chat with Dave Musial and his son yesterday, and the number 29 car being driven by Justin Rottweiler Rothberg.
And he's obviously a great guy.
Dave Musial told me to say that. He said, we really want you to say that. You know, we're trying to get this nickname to stick. Justin Rothberg, who he's had a fair season, to be fair, in the Trofeo Pirelli AM. He's taken 3 wins and a couple of additional podiums as well. He's going to be one to watch this weekend. John Horsch has gone fastest for our Pirelli AM drivers ahead of Brian Cook and Joe Sposado and Omar Balkassoon. So that's the way it looks at the moment. Best time we've had from our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers is 1:39.130. As McCain Wang now improves, and he goes to P3. So it's Horsch from Cook, from Wang, Sposado, Balkassoon, Brett Fowler, then it's Michael Mathis, then it's Logan Vittel and Porter. So let's see what Dave Musial can do then. 1:39.130 is the target time, heading towards the time speed now. And he crosses it with a 1:41.385. That's enough to give him P3 on his return. So well done, Dave Musial.
Yeah, I imagine he'd be pretty happy with that. Now he's got to gauge. Literally, your yellow flag was showing just. I thought just. No, it wasn't. Your crew chief will come on and say, "Do you think you can improve?" And you have to be honest. And getting back to that time management thing, have I got another one in me? Or
no, this is Tony Davis. Now he had an off on Wednesday. He's in the team car this weekend, and I speak a lot to Tony Davis, and he said this track is just so demanding, Dave. And Tony Davis is currently 10th fastest, and I would suggest that he's on a hot lap now.
Yeah.
So it certainly looks like it. Take us through this, Justin.
Well, as he crowns the road here, again, very easy to get the car a little sideways there. You really want to dive hard onto the apex, because as the track falls away, you manage to find yourself on the right line. Here it's all about position. There's a tree in the distance. You see the top of it? You aim for that. You go over middle of the road, third of the road, choosing your apex quite late in the corner so you can get as full and as hard on the throttle as you can. At this point, you're going, okay, I know I'm on a decent lap. I love these last two corners. Very hard braking. In on the right, it's like a double apex corner, but there are actually two corners. You go out wide, back a little bit, or he made it back on the apex there, very wide on the middle of the corner. But this downhill section is so precise. You have to perfectly manage where you're apexing, where you're giving the throttle a little breathe. Now back, full throttle as you come through here. Now this entering into, if you like, the gladiatorial bowl of turn 10 and 11, a very tricky corner. We see if you go off here, it's a terminal event for the car. But breaking down into 11, keep it neat, tidy. He went a little bit deep there. You see, whoa! He just blew his lap there, unfortunately.
Oh, that's such a shame.
In too deep, then got oversteer, snap oversteer in the middle, and that will have cost him at least a second, I reckon.
And that sees Tony then P8, and
that second took him out of third place.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly. So you can see the T alongside the number 4 there, indicating that he is in a T car because of his off. But so Tony then, it was great for you to bring us an entire lap there. And Tony is one of those drivers that drivers have a preference, don't they, in terms of their car and the setup of the car that they work on with the team. Some prefer a looser front end, so a bit of understeer. Yeah. Others, like Tony, prefer a bit of a looser back end so that the car slides a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's personal preference, isn't it?
It is. I've always been a set the car up for a little bit more understeer, because as the race, as you get tire deg during the race, tire degradation, it'll always be towards the rear. In GT cars, for me, the way I'd set the car up. So the last third of the race, I've got a totally neutrally balanced car, and you can attack from that position. So if you start with the car loose, especially on some of these long corners, I think you end up with a very loose car at the end of the race. And that, when especially in the heat, tire deg, makes it a handful.
Here is a potential P1 time from Justin Rothberg. Then he's already banked a P2 time, and
that was close.
2 3/4 tenths down, a 1:38.5 for Justin Rothberg. 1:38.3, beg your pardon. 1:38.223 is the best time so far for John Horsch. Then it's Omar Balkassoon, who is third fastest. We're with Tony Davis once again. Now, he's hoping going into that final sequence of turns that he doesn't and didn't make the mistakes of the previous lap. He's still down, and presumably, probably the best has come from those tyres.
That's it. He's cooling down now.
Let's take a look at in replay then. Tony Davis then. And so really, it was very apexy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Oh, look.
He's just glancing the wall.
I don't know. What did he do? Try and find his Starbucks in the cup holder at that point? I don't know. It's like he just totally unsighted himself. That's like, driving out the end of your garage as you park your car. What happened was literally he was trying to get on throttle, and I got a little bit of push, and then I think he looked down at something, to be honest. That's why he hit the wall. Then no one hits the wall there.
Joe Sposato then is currently 13th fastest, and a 1:38.223 is what we're looking for. It's some 7 seconds down. So Horsch, Rothberg, Balkerssoon, the top three. Then Brad Falver is P4. Then Brian Cook is P5. Michael Mathis, Dave Musial on his return to racing is a very creditable P7 at the moment. We've got just over 4.5 minutes of this qualifying session remaining, and I can't see anyone doing purple sectors at the moment, which would suggest to me that probably the best has come.
What a beautiful camera angle. What a real treat to have that shot. It gives you an idea of just how this beautiful ribbon of road winds its way through what could easily be a vineyard, because they're all around us, and just great. I've got to say that I am truly impressed. If you laid down for Horsch to do a lap of 8:38.2, that's 1.3 seconds slower than the pro car.
Yeah.
Round here.
Yeah.
You always got to equate time on a track to the number of corners and the difficulty and the length of the track. What could be 1.1 second here is the equivalent to 3/10 at Lime Rock.
Yeah.
To put it in perspective. So that is a really good lap. All the cars at the front, all the guys in the low 38s have done an excellent job.
This is Michael Porter then, who's currently 9th fastest, just ahead of McCade Wang and Chuck Whittle, who are P10 and P11. 3.5 minutes remaining in this session. This is Ferrari Challenge North America. We're watching the Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers out there for their qualifying session to set the grid for the race to come this afternoon. 30-minute race to come from Ferrari Challenge. 2 races across the course of the weekend for our Trofeo Pirelli drivers. One today, one tomorrow, and of course we've got Coppa Show qualifying still to come now. The way you describe this gladiatorial, almost a cauldron that we come
like
into.
it? Do you
I
like
love
that?
it. I absolutely love it. I sat at hospitality with a glass of water, honestly.
Okay, one part of that story doesn't make sense.
Just watching the drivers come through that turn 11, it's just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. It's almost like a stadium section, isn't it? Really nice.
Really, can you imagine what it's like when this is full for the road course for NASCAR? I mean, it is. Look, it is an amphitheater. As we sit from the booth for our listeners, viewers, we can see natural grandstands around this place that literally means it is. That's why the fans love it.
Yeah.
They love this track because they can see the driver. You can pick them up coming out of turn 1 all the way up to turn 7 and 8. It really is special.
Yes, very much as you say, a spectator's paradise, because there are such natural grandstands available to you.
So, Michael Porter, I mean, as we watch him go up the back straight there, do you think this is a lap that because he's not on the board? No, he's just giving one last shot, probably a lot of these guys need the track time.
Yeah.
So he's probably getting himself really comfortable for the start of the race.
I might be doing him a disservice here, but I don't think this is one. And this sequence of turns,
look at it,
I just absolutely love it.
I would love to drive you through there, Dave, because I think you wouldn't have a lot to say at the end of it.
I tried to go around my rental car bicycle,
Did you?
but I wasn't allowed.
No. I love driving people through those corners because they go, "Holy cow,
Yes.
that's fast!"
Forgive me, thank you for your kind offer, but
Let's do it right after lunch.
no thanks.
Well, there he is. He pulls in pit lane. Very difficult pit lane entry. Very difficult to.
I was going to
get out
say
of the
that
way.
to you. You know, when you're coming down, when you're approaching turn 11, the pit lane entry on the left-hand side. Goodness me, if you get that wrong.
Oh, and by the way, anyone slowing down, if you're behind them, I mean, it makes for a very interesting couple of seconds. So everyone has to be cognizant of that.
I think with a minute remaining, we're not going to see times troubled for John Horsch. I think John Horsch is going to remain P1 in Pirelli AM. So it's Horsch from Justin Rothberg, and great qualifying from Omar Balkerssoon, then P3, and Brad Falver with a P4 as well. I think we've seen the best that we're going to see. So there you can see the 13 drivers in terms of qualifying for Trofeo Pirelli AM with 35 seconds remaining. And we're looking at this turn 11 sequence now, and with the Ferrari hospitality to the very right-hand side, right in the middle of that wonderful turn. And Amanda Busick, who is down there, hotshot on the track. Another very, very interesting qualifying, Amanda.
I am actually taking place in the Ferrari festivities right now. I know you guys are somewhere in a booth that is air conditioned, but let me tell you, it is beautiful down here. You'll see the Turn 11 hospitality right behind us. Sonoma added that to this racetrack about a year ago, and it's been absolutely fabulous, especially for these Ferrari events. The Ferrari Corral happening here today. I heard over 30 local Ferrari owners that have joined us here today, but I know you were talking about some of the track features here at Sonoma. There's also a drag strip, and when I looked up the Ferrari 488, it can do the quarter mile in 10.4 seconds at almost 140 miles per hour. Now that is getting it. But one of the stories that I love here this weekend that's being featured here at Sonoma Raceway 4 this weekend, take a look at that bus behind me. That is Michael Schumacher's bus from the 1992 season. Dave, Justin, can you imagine the stories and the discussions that took place right there?
I mean, I saw that bus walking in and I was like, that is like a little bit of a classic.
Yeah.
Wow. Whoever bought that is
I think it's
a piece of history.
I think it's a Van Hool chassis.
Yeah.
Being a bus and a rack.
Yeah.
I think it is. Here come the results then for qualifying for Trofeo Pirelli. John Horsch then P1. Justin Rothberg takes P2, just a 10th behind. Then it's Omar Balkasoon, Brad Falver. Then it's Brian Cook, Michael Mathis, Dave Musial, Tony Davis then, and we saw him having almost clattering against the wall. Michael Porter, P9, McCade Wang takes P10, and we have another page with a few more drivers on as well. What a great job done by John Horsch, though, that 138.223.
And a very, very clean qualifying.
Yes.
To everybody, a great job. I know yesterday was a bit messy in practice, but a great job in qualifying.
And P11 for Chuck Whittle, as you could see, and that is another. I tell you what, I wouldn't want to be on the cherry picker giving you that camera shot. I'm not good on heights. I've got a nosebleed coming up to our commentary studio. As you can see, it's right top of race control, isn't it?
Look at those cars. You know, one thing better than not even better, but one thing is driving your road-going Ferrari through the wine country. Can you imagine doing that and then driving your challenge car on the racetrack? To me, that's a pretty complete weekend.
Not a bad way to spend
Not
a
a
weekend,
bad way
is
to
it?
spend.
Oh, look at that. Up the beautiful countryside here. And, of course, we have a fantastic event this evening at a winery that we're very much looking forward to after racing concludes this evening. So, yeah, very, very nice. Here are our shell drivers ready to go out. And champing at the bit, if my eyesight is not mistaken, is Lisa Clark right at the front of the pack, ready to get out there on track. Lisa Clark, who's had a stellar season this year. It's actually the car of Frank Sesniak. Justin, it's over to you. Bye.
Well, anyway, Dave, everybody, Dave's on the balcony.
There's Lisa's car. That's where I was confused. Look.
Okay, that's a great. I like her paint job.
Yeah, Lisa has had a stellar season, to be fair, and has taken 3 wins so far this season. Really good job. She does a lot of racing. She races. I get to talk about Lisa a lot in Europe as well.
Okay.
She comes into. She's basically been ticking off bucket list of circuits that she wants to go to and race in Europe. So yeah, well travelled, and Lisa is a very, very good driver. So too is Frank Sesniak driving the 122 car. The win has eluded him so far this year, but a P2 and a P3 have come his way. So perhaps it's this weekend that he'll put P1 on the trophy score. We will see. So a lot of drivers out there. I was talking to Ray Acosta, driver of car number 107, just before coming up for qualifying, and Ray very much looking forward to the qualifying session and the races to come. He drives, of course, for the collection, and Ray Acosta then, who thus far hasn't had a podium this year. Could it come this weekend? There's some more of the lovely images around this Sonoma Raceway, and you're just talking about that bus that's there, Coach, to give it its a correct title, bringing back some of the wonderful memories that we have of Scuderia with Michael Schumacher, of course. And you know, I had the privilege to talk about Mick Schumacher in his days in Formula 3. You know, and Mick is a lovely young man. And,
yeah, she is, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He's really unassuming, really nice young man. And of course, Formula 1. What a year we have for Formula 1 in the States, Justin.
It's just 3 races this year, and I mean, just to close the Mick Schumacher loop, I thought it was really honourable and well deserved that, you know, the way that they were crediting him with his simulator work to help his team, you know, in the last couple of races, because as a driver, when you bump off out of a real seat and everyone looks at you like you're, you know, That's the last time you're going to canoe down a river, and that's it. But it just shows these drivers have such depth, and we'll see him back, I'm sure, in a good seat. So, but that's a legacy to carry around, isn't it? People say to me, "Oh, you know, what's it like being Derek Bell's son?" I go,
yes,
"Yeah, you should try and make a Schumacher's son." I mean, gee whiz, that's a whole different thing. Just stunning to see these cars. There's a moment right now, as they pull out of the pit lane. You haven't got your friends around, you haven't got your family, you haven't got your crew chief or mechanics. It's just you and the helmet.
Yeah.
I call it when the helmet goes on, you're ready to be a racing driver, and it goes quiet. They've got a job to do now, and as I said, it's just them.
Yeah.
It's just them. There's no one else that can help them right now.
Of course, the Coppa Shell grid is going to be very, very well populated with just a wonderful list of drivers that are taken to the track right now for their qualifying session. I guess we've got 2 sessions to come for our Shell drivers and also for our Shell AM drivers, and you'll see that a number of drivers have got T on the end of the car. One of them is Cyril Chogsy, who messaged me this morning in my hotel just to say, Dave, can you do us a favour on the air and just say a big, big thank you to Roger Montefelti, who has effectively lent me his T car because of my off. So he is racing as the result of the kindness of another driver, and this is something that we see around the paddock. But just before we get back into that story, I know John Horsch is with Amanda Lucy.
Sonoma Raceway, you are starting on pole. What have you figured out about this place?
I think we just liked the track. We had a great setup with the car, and the track felt great, so we just got it done.
When you think of expectations for the race, we've been talking about tires, we've been talking about how slippery the track is. What will the harmony exist of?
Yeah, I think we just have to focus on saving the tires and not burning them out right away, and just taking it easy so we can finish.
All right, John, good luck today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well done to John Horsch then. Big thumbs up from him. And so I was saying, the camaraderie amongst the drivers. Of course, when you put the crash helmet on, as you were saying just a few moments ago, it's you and the car and nothing else, and you've got to go out there and pedal it, as Frank Szczesniak is doing right now. But, you know, the camaraderie and friendship in the paddock, of course, when you're on the track, completely different ball game. But actually, you know, for someone like Cyril Chogsy, who's just so grateful to have been loaned a car by Roger Montefelti.
I would have thought twice about lending you my bicycle, Dave.
Oh, charming.
Let alone my Ferrari if I had one. No, but that's it. You know, everyone wants to go racing. You've got to remember there's a spirit of a joie de vivre here of wanting. What's Italian for that? I don't know. But they have it, don't they? And it's all about the spirit of life and passion for living, and there's a shared commonality here to the excitement of driving Ferraris on one of the most beautiful tracks in the world. So I'm very glad that they work together like that. But of course, there's a lot of risk there because you haven't got through the woods yet. There's no, you've got a weekend of trees to hit. So there's these guys. Remember, racing is such as they're building up to speed now. We're watching Szczesniak build up to speed. I mean, if he's on it properly, I mean, these guys are really good in these cars. And after their test session, they know how hard they have to push this first lap. So it'll be interesting to see different techniques. Different drivers need different styles. I was always someone that needed a couple of laps to wind up to speed. Other people could just burst out like, Usain Bolt was, stolen their wallet or something. It's just...
So we're watching, we've got the times up there for Frank Szczesniak and also John Biscup, then Ferrari of Austin and Boardwalk Ferrari drivers respectively, and this is the Frank Szczesniak car then. Driving the number 122 machine, as I say, is podiumed this year a couple of times, and Frank looking for that first win to come in his category, which is Coppa Shell. Identified by the yellow sunstrip across the top of the 488 Challenge Evo as break the timing beam and get a time of 1:44.539 and a 1:43.999 from John Viscup, who just bests him for that P1 position. This is the number 190 car that we are looking at right now of John Viscup, the very driver that has put it P1 in the Shell drivers. They climb uphill now, and it's a big climb up there.
Yeah, every hill that goes up comes down, and in a race car, the uphills are often more fun than the downhills. So they put less stress. The uphills, you can use the energy of the track, the camber of the road, to really carry more speed in. Coming down a hill, everything, the front pushes away from you. It's a much more difficult thing, especially there's a couple of downhill brake zones here that are very demanding, yes. Very tough to hit your marks and adapt as the tires go off. That is not their issue right now. If ever there was a birthing lap to be had, it's in these 2 or 3 laps.
So John Visca from Frank Szczesniak, Mike Luley doing a great job. Here comes Jan Bernier. I have the pleasure of sitting next to Jan Bernier on a coach in Le Mans as we went to the drivers' parade that weekend. And Jan Bernier, the Ferrari of Seattle driver, a very, very good driver is Jan Bernier, driving that number 132 car. And Jan, of course, opened his account this season very well with a podium in the first race at Homestead, Miami. As Mike Taunton goes quickest now with a 1:43.891, so besting the time of John Visca by a tenth or so.
That was a pity. You lose so much time coming into that hairpin if you get the car crossed up in the middle. This is not ideal to have 3 cars lined up on such a long track as they. Obviously, there are a lot of cars out of there. Oh, a little spin there.
Yes, a round has gone. I think that's the Loska car. Yes, it is. Getting it back out on track, bringing a little bit of dust out onto the tarmac surface as well, which is probably not desirable. As David Veronin we watch now in the 177 car. Now, David has been something of a revelation this season. Had a series of 3 wins in a row.
Wow.
And this is Ray Acosta then, who I was talking to just as we made our way up.
He looks like a race driver.
Doesn't he? He? He's got those looks about him. P5 for Ray Acosta at the moment is Cyril Choksi in a T car, who has put it P1 with a 1:39.658 in this very car that we're looking at now, courtesy of Roger Monteforte then. So well done to Cyril Choksi.
And he thinks he's got more in the bag. He is still on a lap. So even though he's put that one in the bag, the team know if he can go faster. So does he. So he's maintaining it. Interesting. But what I was going to say about that last corner, I always say to anyone, I don't teach anyone now, but I always used to say to anyone or myself, hairpins you need to just lock off. Find the perfect braking point, roll the speed through, perfect exit. You're never going to gain a second in a hairpin, but you can lose it. So lock the hairpin away and take it out of your brain. And that's what you're seeing. A lot of these drivers working too hard, thinking I'm going to gain it all in the last corner. But what they're doing, they're losing it in the last corner. So, and what a way to blow what could have been a great lap.
Now Cameron Root, who is really chasing, we're looking at the Cyril Choksi car, currently P1, and as Justin, you rightly said, he's going for another lap. He feels there's more in there. This is Cameron Root, who's chasing him down. Now,
let's see how he does last corner.
Well, Cameron was P2. He's now P3. The reason for that is Cyril Choksi goes to P2 because David Veronin has gone quickest with a 1:38.660, which is a really, really impressive time from David Veronin. Driving that 177 car. Cameron Root improves as well. He now goes P2, but the margin between himself and David Veronin is pretty fierce. It's 5/10, so that's quite a big margin between Veronin and Cameron Root, who've been having a fantastic battle between themselves at the very top end of Shell Racing all season long.
Well, this is certainly a very dynamic qualifying session. At the top end there, you can see yes, it's a second spread across just over a second of the first 4 cars, but at this point, if they weren't, we see the 173 go by. I wonder what his. Yes, there he is, 197. Wow.
Oh, that's a great for Alva then, who's gone to the top of the chart. Now he's taken a full 10th out of David Veronin. As we're looking at Mike Luley, who's one of the long-time campaigners in the Ferrari Challenge, and great that he's racing with us. And here comes Frank Szczesniak, who P5 at the moment. Is he going to be... no, this is Jan Bernier, beg your pardon.
Yeah, Jan Bernier.
Jan Bernier then crossing the timing line with a 1:41.914, so he's about 3 1/3 down on those that are front-running.
And he'll be frustrated because he knows, the last corner. We just watched him. He threw it all away, and a lot of it away in the last corner.
Right.
And he'll be mad at himself because it blows his next lap because you want to come off there for the start. So, qualifying, you're trying to get so much out of yourself in the car, and it's because of that. Think of tennis. How many aces do you serve in a row? Not much, and you're trying to serve aces.
Yeah.
In qualifying, so very demanding.
The thing that we've not mentioned is the fact that the track is very busy for this session. There's some 15 drivers in Coppa Shell, and therefore trying to find the track space. Now, this is important that you and your team work as one, because of course the team can identify from the GPS map they've got where you can find track position and just some clean tarmac ahead of you.
Yeah, and the difference between qualifying or practice and a race is that you don't know if someone's just come in and gone back out, so the car can sort of drop in your way out of the sky. You feel, at least in a race, you know you know where you are and where the other cars are. Qualifying can be different in the fact that cars can rejoin in front of you or you catch them up. Nothing more frustrating.
You can just see from our vantage point that Cameron Root has come in as Roy Carroll then, who is ninth fastest at the moment and is looking for an improvement. We'll see if Roy Carroll is able to do that. So, as I say, ninth fastest at the moment.
Hold it together through the last corner here, Dave. You see, very nice and tidy. He just did the perfect line.
Okay.
Yeah, very nicely done.
Just almost glance that concrete, but not quite, and get as close to it as you dare. Let's see him across the breaking the timing beam now. 138.523 is always the target. It wasn't an improvement, a 142.1, but nonetheless, Roy remains that P9 position. Here is the 123 car, driven by Robert McWilliams. Now, Robert at the moment is down there P15. Is this going to be an improvement for Robert McWilliams? We will see. No, a 144.582. Beautiful livery on that.
I was just about to say,
Challenge
he wins one of the awards for I mean, wow, that's what happens when you go to a nightclub and design your car. I love that.
Yeah, it is
really
stunning,
good.
isn't it? Stunning.
Jeez, I need to go and see that up close because I think we're missing a lot of the detail, but well done him.
So it's Falva from Veronin, from Cameron Root, then a Surreal Choxy, Frank Szczesniak, Ray Acosta, John Visca. They occupy the top 7 positions at the moment. And here is Dirk Ulrich then for Ferrari of Palm Beach, who is P8 at the moment, driving that 113 car, which is climbing uphill right now, these 488 Challenge Evos, with just under 4 minutes of this qualifying session remaining. We've still got the Coppa Shell AM drivers to come out. This is the Coppa Shell drivers. They're identified in the race to come a little bit later by the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen. Bear that in mind. And the session being led by Gray Falva then with a 138.523. 3.5 minutes remaining. Roy Carroll for Foreign Cars Italia then.
I thought he was trying to complete that last lap. I mean, he's on it right now, knowing the time is running out on the clock. Great looking car as well, actually. Very well done.
Wasn't quite as tight to the apex of that turn 11 as the previous lap, in my opinion. Whether that's cost him or whether he's able to get just a little bit more of a slingshot, I rather doubt it. As a 141.231. I think that was actually an improvement on his last time, but it's still not enough to move him up the order.
Now you can see he's backed out. Take the load out of the tires. Let the brakes cool down. Just give your car a good shot to come into the pits in the best shape for this afternoon's race. You can see everyone's backing out now. Yeah, they did a very good job. You can see how difficult that pit lane entrance is right now.
Yeah. And as you say, if you get caught out by someone that's coming into the pit lane, that can really...
I've seen people cut across from the inside, cut across you to make the pit wall. Wow. Yeah, because he's suddenly going to ask for a late pit.
Yeah, box came a little bit too late. Dirk Ulrich then, 148.156. That means that he stays in that P8 position. So the 113 car then climbing uphill now.
He's still on it.
Yep.
Yeah, he thinks, again, you've also got to bear in mind, it depends on how you're feeling on the track. You may just say, guys, I need another lap. Even though you don't think you might be able to improve, you just maybe they changed something on the car. They're still trying to work it out. I mean, I think that's the end of his lap.
There are still drivers out there, you're absolutely right, who are just, diving in now, but who are thinking that towards the end of the session might be when they can improve. Now, is this building ready for another last dash, perhaps, for Roy Carroll? And you can see Roy Carroll accelerating now. And with the time of 1:21 left on the screen, he can certainly do another lap if he feels that there is an improvement in there, and that's what he's going for now. The advantage he has, if this works, is the fact that he's got pretty clear space ahead of him.
Yes.
So we will see if it pays off. So Roy Carroll for Foreign Cars Italia, we've seen him circulate a number of laps, but has he controlled it and just maintained the tyres into a position where they can give of their best now? This could be very exciting towards the end of this qualifying session.
You said it right at the beginning of the qualifying, the risk versus reward.
Yeah.
Right now he's on the threshold of risk versus reward.
Okay.
Because if he is not going to be able to improve his lap time, he's taken some time off, his race pace.
Well, we will see. As you can see, he is unhindered by any other car out there on track. So he has not only our cameras, but the focus of the audience on him as well. And
Ooh,
little mistake there.
Little mistake there. Then on the outside, that's it. Look, he backed out. He just knew.
So the lap is done.
Yeah, he should call it. But, you know, he's quick down the straight, down through the S's. A lot of choices. He'll be on the radio discussing it. I probably think that was unfortunately for him. He'd hit the inside curve, bounced him out wide, increased his corner radius, then hit got on the rough asphalt at the outside of turn up at the top there at turn 7 and 7A.
Well, it looks like the top of the table is going to be unchallenged with Gray Falver. Certainly Roy is going to complete the lap, and does so, and it is as you predicted, a non-improvement, unfortunately. Just one tiny error, and that is enough to completely Horlicks the lap, and that's what happened. So Gray Falver then, who of course has taken 2 wins this season in his only appearance in the Ferrari Challenge, which came at the Circuit of the Americas, a very, very different circuit to this one.
I mean, there you could risk and get a lot of reward, because of the huge runoff areas. But as a driver, I'm telling you, this counts for a lot more to a really tough lap round here. The way we've seen these guys drive to get the fastest laps of the day, they've done very well. And I think we've got one session left to go, but we've had a couple of very minor spins, which means I think a lot of the lessons were learned yesterday.
Yes, and it must, as you say, it must be so satisfying to bank a really, really good lap here. I suspect physically at the end of the session you've done it, because it is a demanding track in terms of your physicality inside the car is hot. And here is the result in full for qualifying 1 for Coppa Shell. Gray Falver then with a 1:38.523 is P1. David Veronin chasing him for P2. Cameron Root P3. Cyril Joxy, bear in mind, in a T car. Big thanks to Roger Monteforti, he's P4. Frank Sesniak P5. Then it's Ray Acosta, John Fisker, Dirk Ulrich, Roy Carroll, who we were just watching a few moments ago, and Matt Dalton. They round out the top 5 rows of our Coppa Shell grid for this afternoon's race, ahead of Paul Losker, Jan Bernier, Eric Marston, Michael Luley, and Robert McWilliams. So the 15 drivers then who have been out there driving their qualifying session for Coppa Shell, with Coppa Shell AM still to come as we look at the stadium or cauldron section of this gladiatorial challenge that awaits our drivers here in Ferrari Challenge. And in the corral down there in the paddock, some of the beautiful cars that you can spend time looking at during the course of the weekend. If you're joining us here in Sonoma in the Napa Valley, you're very welcome, and brilliant display, and Ferrari do go the extra mile in terms of making everything very welcoming.
Why do I have a feeling that Amanda's next appearance is going to be with a bowl of pasta and
probably
an
just
espresso? Just she's getting close to that hospitality, every time.
Actually, yes, you're right. There's been yard by yard.
Yard by yard. She's getting there. Look at these cars. Yeah, there is something to that prancing horse, isn't there?
And there's still something about if you're driving a Ferrari and you have a red one, it's kind of complete, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not saying the cars don't look beautiful in other colours, of course they do, but here then the Sonoma Raceway, actually we could wave. You could, at the very right-hand top of your screen is where Justin and I are situated, in a perhaps opulent TV studio, not quite as opulent as this really rather lovely hospitality, which, as Amanda said, was built a year ago here at Sonoma, and it just lends itself to this event.
And full attendance.
Yes.
Everybody, everything is sold out. The number of guests, the hospitality will be at capacity. This is why you go racing in Ferrari Challenge. It's the best of everything here, and of course the hotels in the region are beautiful. The restaurants are amazing. So it's part of the lifestyle. And the track we used to know as Sears Point, which is still affectionately known as that by us old people. But Sonoma Raceway, I said to one of the instructors who's up here the whole time, I saw him on Wednesday, an old friend, and he said, yeah, it's not a bad place to call home, to have to come here and work every day. And I do want to say something, though, about the way the coaches are working with these guys with the incredible in-car systems. I had no idea it had evolved to that, because that's something I haven't done for a while. and they're watching live data live video stream from the guy they're coaching or girl they're coaching, and what a way to use technology that was not there. Not that long ago, we'd have to sit next to them in practice, and that ages you.
Yes.
But this way, really able to give the best coaching possible to the guys that need it.
As we get the green flag, let's go down to Amanda Busick, who we both believe is a little bit closer to hospitality, and that's probably why Gray Falver has been delayed. He's had to walk further. Amanda.
We have found Gray Falver. I'm going to hand him this pole position plaque, and you take a look at the turns around here at Sonoma. The gentleman in the booth, Dave Richardson and Justin Bell, were talking about just how satisfying it must be to bank a good lap around here. How true are those statements?
Very true. I mean, you got to be switched on this track. Really got to link it all together, and a mistake in one turn is going to mess up the whole lap. So to put it all together like that feels really, really good.
Just to answer Dave's question, in the hospitality, do you think that there's pasta and stuff waiting for you in there?
I hope so. I'm hungry, so looking forward to it.
Well, apparently I am too, and one of the things that I love, and I'm just going to turn the camera around here just to show, proud Papa Brad Falver was right behind this interview taking photos. It's great to see these guys sharing these weekends together.
Well done, Brad. Well done, Gray. Great job done. So there you go. Father-son embrace then, and you know all about that, don't you, Justin?
Yeah, I do. I was thinking how nice that is. Then I went, oh, I've done that. No, that must be a real thrill. Talk about a bonding experience. And motorsports, once it's in the blood, there's not much you can do about it.
No. Okay, we get our Coppa Shell Am qualifying underway right now, and our Coppa Shell Am drivers identified by the black strip across the top of the windscreen then. And here we go, the final 15-minute qualifying session before the races to come this afternoon. It'll be Justin and myself to bring you all the action during the course with Amanda Busick as well, and Lance Corley that we're looking at now for Ferrari of Atlanta in the 176 car. Lance is here with his wife Nancy, who always supports Lance, and Lance is having a really, really good season as well. So really enjoying his driving in the Ferrari Challenge. So we'll see what Lance is able to do during this qualifying session, of which the first couple of minutes gone already, and it does go away very, very quickly. There is the car of Lisa Clark, and I mentioned earlier on that Lisa is having a stellar season, and we'll see what Lisa for Ferrari Beverly Hills can do out here on the Sonoma Raceway, and that very distinctive orange and blue livery across the Lisa Clark 488 Challenge Evo. So we'll give the drivers a couple of laps just to get themselves settled in, and then we'll see some times, Justin.
Yeah, I'm liking the way she's preparing for this. She looks very composed, building up speed. I think she's probably going to go for lap time on lap 3 the way she was there, because that wasn't fast enough to go on lap 2. Everyone, as I said, has their own style to it. If you get any traffic, you're going to back out and find a space.
Yeah.
Because not on the warm-up lap, but if you can see it in the distance, and you can calculate that and go, I'm going to catch them. Yeah. I'm going to catch them coming into turn 11, and it's going to blow my lap. So, and you know it when you're all the way up in turn 6 and 7. So everybody here trying to remember what they got taught, what they did best, and the whole thing about driving on a racetrack. And it's one of the things that I find incredible about predict who is on the outside with a shot. So I'm looking out the window, guys, and seeing cars 2 abreast going through the S's, which is quite spectacular. But one of the things that happens with when you're putting together a lap, and let's just say in practice they do 5 or 6 laps, 10 laps, you have your predictive.
Yes.
Or if you like, the best lap, if you took everything from all the corners you did, and you go, oh my God, if I did everything right, I'll be on pole. Guess what? To be on pole, you've got to do everything right. So that's what I always used to find frustrating, but an incentive when I looked at the data. And it's the same for these guys. They know the way I always approached it, and I used to teach people, is the corners there's certain corners like the hairpin, you just got to lock away, focus on gaining a 10th in each corner, not a second in one.
Very fair point. Jerry Walters then has gone P1 with a 149.256 at the moment. Then it's Steve Check, Lance Corley, and Bruce Cleveland. Neil Langberg, who I was having a coffee with earlier on, and Neil Langberg Langenberg here with his family this weekend as well. He is currently P5, early stages of this qualifying. You've got to nail everything. Paul Lin is 7th fastest, and Jesus Mendoza with a P6 time at the moment, but it is still early stages of this qualifying. Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell drivers out there, and Ferrari Silicon Valley driver, almost one has gone round.
Yeah, so that was an interesting place to spin as he's coming on the
Calling.
downhill into turn 6.
No, it's not. Beg your pardon. It is the 146 car of Dana Goodwin.
Oh.
So Dana Goodwin has gone around. So
I just suspect with she.
No,
he. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry. Stays well. You never know. As I was going over the hill, coming down the other side, what would have happened is it was just a mistake on the brakes. As the car gets light as you go across the top there, you're aiming for the tree, and no worries, we've all done it.
you can see there, going through turn number 11, the back end of the Bruce Cleveland car, letting go a little bit, having to use just a little bit of Obsolog to control that now.
Nicely done, though.
Yeah, nicely done. Great for us watching and enthusing, but of course it's never the quickest way when you're sideways, is it?
No, I would indicate that maybe his tyres aren't quite there. Quite there as he came off that corner, but also he wanted to start the perfect lap. So he got on it, and the lap starts exiting turn 11.
Well, he has done a 141.237, which is best of anyone. Lance Corley is second fastest. Then it is this. Jerry Walters, Bubbles, the livery on the car, the Ferrari of Vancouver driver. Jerry is he's great fun. I had a lot of good conversations with Jerry Walters, currently third fastest. Very, very impressive. And Neil Langberg has just gone fourth fastest ahead of Jeff Nunberg and Steve Check, who are P5 and P6. And Paul Lynn, who goes up to P3 with Mendoza now P4. So it's changing all the time, as we would expect at the start of this session. What
Second, third lap for most of them.
Yes.
So it's right in the sweet spot.
Exactly as been predicted, really, as
Totally,
when it's going to happen.
It means that they're really going to have to focus, we'll talk about it later, on their time management going into the race. And that involves real discipline. Right now, they're having to exercise a lot of discipline because, as you say, they've got to start the race on these tyres.
Paul Lynn, who is currently fourth fastest, he's coached by Stefano Guy, and Ale Balsan is another one of our driver coaches, or another one of the team's drivers coaches, and Ale himself a hugely successful racing driver, as is Stefano Guy, to be fair. And here comes Lisa Clark then, target time 141.237. Wow, well
excellent.
done, Lisa, P3. So Lisa found the time that she needed. Lance Corley is still P2. Who's gone around there? Is that the 195 car?
195.
Paul Lynn, who we were just extolling the virtues of for Ferrari of Newport Beach.
And I know exactly what was happened. He laid down your P3. What a great job. He pushed for another one.
Let's have a look. So, in replay.
I wish I had a really good excuse for that.
Okay. It was an odd place.
It was an odd place. It's just he was just loaded up on the outside. He was trying to carry speed. He was doing everything he needed to do to get the lap together, to come down the hill fast. And I think there comes a point physics says no thank you.
Yeah. Neil Langberg, who is currently 10th fastest. It's Bruce Cleveland from Lance Corley, from Lisa Clark, then Roger Monteforte, Jeff Nunberg, Paul Lynn, who is P6, and there you can see the 195 car of Paul Lynn now recovering following that turning around, and the Ferrari of Newport Beach driver will go again. At the moment, good qualifying nonetheless, very creditable qualifying from Paul Lynn. Well done indeed, a 144.212, which puts him P6. So Cleveland, Corley, Clark, Montfort, Nunberg, then Lynn. 6.5 minutes remaining, so just under half of the session remaining. The 157 car that we look at right now of Jesus Mendoza for Ferrari of San Francisco. It's great to see him back racing this weekend, and has had to miss much of the season, and a couple of appearances this year before being back for a full campaign. He tells me in 2024.
He knows about his ride more than any other driver then. It's knowing what you're doing the next year and being able, just for him psychologically saying, I'll be back back in this car, you know, knowing what I'm going to race next year in this track, it gives you sort of confidence, and he knows he'll be able to, lessons learned here, apply it in the future.
Another place gained by Jerry Walters, then another improvement going ahead of Jesus Mendoza. So P7 for Julie Walters then in the Bubbles liveried pink machine. Looks absolutely beautiful. So Bruce Cleveland untouched at the moment with his 141.237. So we look at the 100 car of Anthony DiCarlo right now, who's currently languishing, if I dare use that word, down there in P11. Perhaps expect an improvement from Anthony DiCarlo. And to be fair, I think he's left it until the later part of the session to come out for the Wide World Ferrari.
Which could prove to be a smart thing if you can keep this lap together. It's a little bouncy on the front end compared to the other cars. That's quite interesting.
How much of an influence can you have with the teams in terms of the setup? Because you're the one that's got to pedal the car, you know, and there are certain characteristics of the car that perhaps you may prefer to another driver who might prefer a setup which is completely different.
The thing is, these teams have got such talent on them in the engineering and crew chief side of things that, especially in this division, you're going to be led by your team.
Yeah.
They're going to say, you're going to complain and want to change the car, but they're going to say, get more temperature in the tires, carry more speed, rely on the aero, rely on the tire grip. And as when you've got less experience, you have to sometimes bust through some thresholds, which are based on trust and trust in the team. And so I've even known teams that have said, absolutely, Justin, we're right on it. And you go back out and they say, was it better? And you go, oh God, that was better. And they walk away and they never change the thing.
So completely psychological.
Totally psychological, yeah.
Well,
but then you're looking at them going, what's the right answer here? But you know, a lot of the time, these teams are much more experienced.
Jerry Walters has gone around. Forgive me interrupting you. Oh, don't. Good.
Nice.
Well done. So now, if you're on a hot lap at that point, that your lap is gone.
Totally gone.
And that affects 3 or 4 other drivers who come across the car that's spun ahead of you, and of course that fairly nauses up their lap as well. But you know, it is one of those things, and it's one of the risks that you take, isn't it? This is Paul Lynn now, who is P7.
Oh,
and Paul Lynn goes around. He's had a couple of moments, hasn't he?
Yeah, you're not having any tires to start this race with in a minute. I think, you know, the grip's gone on his rear tires.
Yeah.
They got a little bit sloppy there. He just basically did not unwind the wheel at the exit of the corner, and he was thinking too much about the lap. I mean, he was doing it right, as in, I want to be quick, I don't want to hold this lap together, but it just didn't pay off.
And in fairness, Paul comes here off the back of 2 podiums at Montreal.
Oh yeah, he's a guy that knows what he's doing. So it's actually pushing that's required. It's not languishing, it's pushing. That's caused him to have that spin.
And that's the thing, isn't it? You know, there is a very thin line. You're on an absolute knife edge of just pushing a little bit too much. And
he was unsettled from the other spin, to be honest.
I think you're right.
I think he was trying to put together whatever he could.
Here's Dana Goodwin, then Ferrari of Newport Beach, then, who's currently 8th fastest, just behind Paul Lynn, who we were talking about. So Dana Goodwin, then, who also has had a sideways moment during the course of this qualifying session, but has got it all nailed seemingly perfectly now. So what can the Ferrari of Newport Beach driver do, and can he improve from that P8 position in Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell? Let's see, because we're reaching the conclusion of the lap as we come into this final turn, number 11, then carrying as much speed as you can, and then this must be such a heavy braking turn. Just keep it on the white there, and get on the throttle then as you leave the turn 11 through this kink, and heading to break the timing beam now for Dana Goodwin, then a time of 1:44.914. So away from the 1:41.237 target time, which has been set by Bruce Cleveland and was set some laps ago, ahead of Lance Corley and Lisa Clark and Roger Montfort, ahead of Jeff Numberg, Jesus Mendoza, Paul Lynn, Dana Goodwin, Jerry Walters, Steve Check. They are the top 10. You can see the order on the left-hand side of your screen. And Lisa Clark is still going out there, trying to improve on that P3 performance. Very good qualifying performance thus far from Lisa Clark, who perhaps feels that there is an improvement out there for her.
Oh yeah, definitely does. 56 seconds on the board. Actually, come on, keep it nice and tidy. Feet on the gas. That's good. Good exit. She'll know in the car how she's doing. She'll just see her revs. She'll know where she was as she hit the brush the wall on the inside there.
Stays P3, so for Lisa then I would think now it will be probably not go for another lap. Probably,
Yeah, she's backed out.
Yeah, back out and bring the car home. So just under 30 seconds remaining as we look at the 141 car of that's being driven by Jeff Nunberg for Ferrari of Central New Jersey. And P5 at the moment, stays P5 with that target time of 1:41.237. Not probably going to be bested by anyone,
No,
I would have suggested. I think the session has come to an end, and I think we've seen the best times that we're going to see. Is that Dana Goodwin just going to cross the line now? Dana Goodwin P8, and I think it's probably going to stay P8. Yes, indeed it does. So the Ferrari of Newport Beach driver, despite valiant efforts towards the end of the session, does not improve. So it is going to be Bruce Cleveland who takes pole position for Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell and there's still cars out there getting around the track, including Jerry Walters then, who is P10 in the all pink bubbles liveried car then, and Jerry Walters then continuing now. Of course, anyone that crosses the timing line just before the clock has gone down to 0 can continue that lap, can't they, Justin?
It's one of those diminishing returns, obviously,
Yeah.
in the last 5 minutes, depending on your lap count. But they, you can often be, and I've been guilty of it so many times, when you feel you can go faster, but you're fighting your car.
Yeah.
So you kind of get your own act together too late in the day.
Right.
And you're sort of chasing the dream at that point. But remember, at this level, this experience level, lapping counts, the number of laps, and so contradicting myself from earlier a bit, but they've got a nice session, a 15-minute session in qualifying. Everyone is wiser than they were when they started this in their own way.
It's this seat time, isn't it? Being out there, and of course we experience different tracks whenever we go racing, and every track has its own peculiarities and characteristics, and it's getting that track knowledge, and as you say, every moment of seat time is going to have some value. And well done to all our drivers across all our categories. Pirelli Am, also now Shell and Shell Am. They've been out for their qualifying session. Our grids have been set effectively for the races to come this afternoon. 2 30-minute races, one for Trofeo Pirelli and one for Coppa Shell, as we dive into the garages here. Behind every racing driver there are teams and engineers that work very, very hard in terms of giving you the best possible car to go racing in. And there you can see the number 31 car of Dave Musial Jr., Dave 2.0, and again, beautiful looking car. And that power plant, that's just a work of art. How it's shoehorned in there.
Look at those engine covers, gorgeous.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, confirmation of the results then. Bruce Cleveland, well done, Bruce. P1, Lance Gawley, good qualifying from Lance and good qualifying from Lisa Clark too. Roger Monteforte, P4. Jeff Nunberg, P5. Jesus Mendoza goes P6. Then it's Paul Lynn, Dana Goodwin, Steve Check and Jerry Walters completing the top 10 of our Coppa Shell Am drivers for their first qualifying session. Bear in mind they'll have another qualifying tomorrow ready for race 2. Neil Langberg, Anthony DiCarlo and Al Heggie round out the qualifying session for our Coppa Shell Am drivers. So with qualifying done and dusted, time to take a look at some of the other things that are going on. Doubtless we're going to catch up with Bruce Cleveland once he's out of the car then for his Rotiform Pole Position Award presentation. This hospitality around turn 11 is utterly beautiful and as you say, very well populated. So let's go down to Amanda Busick, who I do believe is in the company of one Mr. Bruce Cleveland. Well done, Bruce.
That's right, Dave, and he's picking up the first pole of his career, but he's found podium in 3 of the last 4 races. When you think of a track like Sonoma Raceway in search of your first win, why will that pole help you, especially here?
Well, it's pretty tough getting off out of the turn 1 and turn 2. So being in front gives you an opportunity to kind of avoid some of the things that are going on behind the scenes. And once you're there, this track is really tough to pass. So if you can stay out front there, you can usually keep that as long as you continue to make all the right decisions. And that's the complicating part about this particular track is it's a series of constant decisions.
Nice job, Bruce. I know we're all counting down to race time, especially these fans that are off camera watching all the action here in the underneath the awning here at the Ferrari Challenge Series race this weekend. And guys, do you want to challenge each other to a race on the sim for some pasta and hospitality coming up?
Amanda Busick, you've come up with some wonderful suggestions in our time working together. That is not one of your best ones. Thank you so much to Amanda Busick. Thanks to Justin Bell alongside me. Thanks to you for watching. That's qualifying for Ferrari Challenge done and dusted. Please make sure you join us for the races to come this afternoon. Bye-bye for now.